Hi, this tutorial may be interesting to those keyboard users who already own Band-in-a-Box or who intend or are considering in buying it. I've figured out how the Band-in-a-Box program can be used to run your keyboard in a way that allows the chords that show up in Band-in-a-Box program to run the keyboard. In my case, I have a Tyros 4, but it will work with many other MIDI prepared keyboards. To start out with, let me just demonstrate what the effect of this control will do. I have it set up so that it's ready to go. To demonstrate this right now, we got the song Georgia on Band-in-a-Box set up so that it will instruct the keyboard with the chords from the song, and the keyboard will then use the keyboard styles and voices to play the music, so that I can then change the style speed, the style type from 1 to 4. We'll show you that in a minute. We'll start Band-in-a-Box now, and the music you hear will be coming over the Tyros. I can change the quality of the sound, add in breaks live, go from A to B to C and D, and even change the music type. Let's go to Motor City. Just by changing the style, I was able to change the music. Now I get a Latin beat, Bossa Nova. The keyboard is being instructed by the Band-in-a-Box program by the chords that are in the program controlling the keyboard. How about a little samba? Even add interesting part is that the chords shown on the keyboard are the same ones depicted there, obviously. Okay, the setup to accomplish this controlling the keyboard with the Band-in-a-Box requires about 3 or 4 steps on the Band-in-a-Box that have to be set, and a couple of 3 or 4 settings on the keyboard. We'll start out with the Band-in-a-Box. One of the first things you have to do is shut off all the voices by muting them. We'll mute the piano, the bass, the drum, guitar, mute all of the voice instruments except for soloists, which carry some of the MIDI information from the Band-in-a-Box to the keyboard. The other thing we have to do on the Band-in-a-Box is set up the MIDI driver. You have to go to Opt, check your MIDI driver setup. Now, I have a Yamaha USB driver that I use that drives the keyboard from the program. If you don't have that software, I think you have to get it off the internet to accomplish it. In fact, you also need a connector that will allow the driver to work correctly. I use a Yamaha UX16. I'm not sure that it doesn't sell for anything more than $16 or $20. It's a connector that takes the let me show you. Takes the USB on one end and has two MIDI connections on the other end. With the proper driver and the right wires connecting the computer to the keyboard, then you have to go to MIDI driver. In the MIDI driver section, you want to make sure that this VST box is not checked. You have to uncheck this VST box. Usually that's required for normal transmission, but for this kind of effort you have to uncheck that box. Finally, on the BIAB, you have to go to output channel here. See it there where the arrow is? On the output channel there's four choices here, and I found out by accident that the vocalist is the one that's needed to make the transmission of the information complete. So I click on the vocalist box, and now I know I got the band in a box all set up correctly. So now we'll switch over to the keyboard. On the keyboard, in my case the Tyros 4, your basic screen looks like this. You have to go to function button over here. I think the function button, let me back off a little bit. You have to press the function button and press the MIDI button. And in MIDI you want to check clock external. You have to use an external clock so it'll receive information from BIAB. And now you want to go down to this corner and light up the edit button here under MIDI, like so, and move the control from systems over to chord detect. That's quite an obvious expression, implying that now the Yamaha, when I set up like that, will be ready to read chords coming in from the outside world. But to do that, you have to energize a USB connection, and in this case I'm using MIDI A USB, and I want to light them all up, so I have to check them. So now I told the keyboard I want you to pick up the chords coming in on a USB cable at these channels. When you get finished, you should see this term external in the box on the dashboard of the Tyros. You have to have the, of course, you have to have the buttons on. You have to have the sync start and the accompaniment on, and some control setting that you like. In this case, I still have the samba in place. Let's see if it works. Okay, with the band in a box program set up correctly and the keyboard settings correct, I'll start the band in a box and it'll be back to where I showed at the beginning, running the Tyros. I got a play sofa style. A gospel style. Added a couple of MIDI pads. Soul, other hearts beat out to me, other eyes cry soulfully, serene, peaceful, dreams I see, the voice speaks back to you, Georgia, Georgia. that's it. There you have it. On the BIAB program, you want to set the MIDI driver so that it knows that it's feeding a Yamaha or a keyboard. You want to use a keyboard connector to the computer that works with the Yamaha, and you have to uncheck the VST box I pointed to earlier. And finally, you got to set the MIDI options on the vocalist. You recall that. And on the keyboard itself, you have to set the function button to clock, external clock, which we did. You also have to set the function MIDI edit to chord detect, which you'll see in the instructions. Set up the choices so that MIDI connections on channels 1 to 16 are alive to receive the information from the band in a box. And of course you have to use the USB driver and the USB cable I referred to earlier. One more thing I forgot to mention, that to clean up the beginning of the song as it's being instructed by the BIAB into the keyboard, you want to get rid of the what do you call them, the count-in meter, the count-in effort, that 4 beats that normally associates itself at the beginning of BIAB. What you do is go to Preferences, and you'll see a choice up on the top, count-in meter. You want to make sure all these boxes here are unchecked. All these boxes under the category of count-in meter, unchecked, so that the lead-in doesn't confuse the introduction of the BIAB song into the keyboard. I found out that's very desirable because it sort of losses up the timing at the beginning and throws in some extra noises that are not part of the song. So best you shut that off by unchecking all these boxes on the count-in and the metronome part of Preferences on the band in a box. Hopefully that will work for you. Be interested in hearing any results you may get, and if you need any help, I'll be here.